So I'd like to thank you all for attending this exciting discussion. My name is David Salinas. I'm one of the co-founders of Digital Surgeons, which is a tenant of the building. For those of you that don't know, I'm also a co-founder of District New Haven, Drive Co-work, and the District Innovation and Venture Center, which is our new nonprofit, which recently announced that we'll be open the Holberton School, as well as Data Science Training Academy right behind this wall here. Due to time constraints, we won't be able to hit all the questions that you guys had sent in. Thank you guys for sending in your questions via social media and through the email. They were great questions, but we've only got about 30 minutes of discussion, and then we'll want to open it up to a couple of your open questions. I'd like to introduce you to our two guests. First, an accomplished entrepreneur.
I can't do as well as Jeff did at the lunch for both of you, so we don't have enough time.
Sure. Yeah. So first, an accomplished entrepreneur and investor in the telecom and digital media industry, the Democratic candidate for governor, Ned Lamont.
So I did a lot of research on you yesterday, and
So my second guest is one of the most impressive people I've had the chance to share air with. And if you do a little bit of research, you might find some of the things that I found. Described as one of the most powerful people on Wall Street and now in technology. She did a tenure, almost 30 years at Morgan Stanley, and now is considered one of the most powerful women in technology, or people in technology, the CFO of Alphabet and Google by way of San Francisco, Ruth Porat. Let's hit the hottest topic in the debate head on. It's popular to say businesses are leaving the state because the taxes are too high. In your opinion, would reducing the income tax in Connecticut have any effect on Connecticut's ability to attract the likes of Google? If not, what other factors do you think contribute?
So first, I'd say I'm here as a longtime friend of Ned's, and admire not as a Google person. I bring that view as well as Morgan Stanley, but all my comments are my personal view. So to answer your question, I think that Ned has nailed it in his policy statements. We need to make sure when we look at, when I look at places that I would say what's going to attract people to work there, it has a lot more to do with where's the greatest pool of talent. How do you think about the talent that you can attract and why? How do you tap into universities in and around the area? How do we create a working and living environment that's one that's consistent with what people want in their lives? If you think about Silicon Valley, which is extraordinary, it is a very high tax area. So taxes are not the only answer. It's an important part, and I'll leave it to the future governor to talk about that. But I think that one of the most important things is you want to have talent is the lifeblood of innovation. You want to make sure you've got the right talent and you can have everything else around that attracts them.
So speaking of talent, Ned, this question is for you. So recent numbers show that there's 550,000 computing skill-related jobs open in the U.S. It's expected to grow to 1 million unfilled jobs by 2020, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. In Connecticut, our tech talent needs are swelling as well. Roughly 7,500 open jobs right now, but our pipeline is weak. Higher education is delivering less than 500 graduates in computer engineering programs in the past year. Public schools and colleges are simply not doing the job fast enough. From your perspective, how do you believe the government and private sector can work together to fix this issue? And what roles do you see private training programs like the Holberton School that will be opening in the space behind us? Sorry for the shameless plug.
Somehow I think you answered your own question. So let me just say, David, Ruth, and I were just in a meeting with most of the largest representatives of the largest businesses in the state. And they were talking about how tough it is to recruit and keep talent here in the state of Connecticut. And folks with a tech skill set and how important that was to them being able to stay where they are. And my job for governor is to focus 100% on jobs. I love the meeting we were at there. I I'm so much happier to be here right now. Let me tell you why. I started up my own business 35 years ago. We did not have something like this. This is just amazing. And you're all here to be with each other and to learn from each other. We had these little rental offices, and you paid $200, and you had somebody to answer your phone. And the joy and pride you get when you nail that first contract and that first check goes up. And I would just tell you, the joy of being your own boss is immeasurable. And and you're at an amazing time in this state, in this country right now. As David was saying, we do have tens of thousands of jobs we can't fill here in the state of Connecticut, millions around the country right now. In tech and entrepreneurship, I go across the board though, also in nursing and teaching and the trades. When it comes to tech, look, our community colleges can catch up. We can do better in our VOTech programs. But I really do think the programs like District right here are to be invaluable. They're customized to what you need to do. You get the collaboration of being able to work together. My job as governor, I hope, will be to get the business community more involved here so they can see what you're providing and learning and the skills you have, and they can learn from you. Because we have a lot of old companies in the state. They need a little bit of entrepreneurial zip, and you're the folks that are going to bring it. And I tell you one other thing, because I know you got a lot of questions, is my job as governor is to make sure that this is a place that each and every one of you know that you can stay and call home. It's great opportunities. We really want to keep you here in Connecticut. We can't afford the brain drain. We can't afford to educate the best and the brightest and have them go to Silicon Valley. I'm going to stick around. So that's going to be one of my goals going forward.
And if I could just jump in there, I think your question about training programs is so critical, and it's a perfect example of where we need more public-private partnerships, because there are plenty of opportunities to create job skill training programs. And at Google, when we started job training programs, we started with coding, and then we realized there are substantially more basic digital skills that many people just don't have, and we hear from company after company. We need people who have basic literacy in what it means to live in the digital world, whether it's how to create a spreadsheet or how to take your business online. And every tech job creates 5 more jobs, according to studies done by McKinsey and others. So this notion of how can we work together, business and government, to do job skilling programs, to leverage community colleges that has spoken so much about in order to actually just kind of focus where you need to open new lines for careers, train in certain areas. Some of them are skilling, some of them are manufacturing. Let's make sure we're tapping into the resources that we have around the state and around the country so that we can actually set people up for the jobs that are here and unfilled.
Well, I won't go with the next question because that's where I was leading.
Good question.
Well, actually, I'd like to address this because in the sense of innovation and technology, I think it's important. So I want to stick to the theme of education for a second. In August, Glassdoor put out a post that was syndicated by many publishers titled 15 More Companies No Longer Requiring a Degree. Apply it now. Google is one of those companies. CT is heavy higher education. The counter is that students no longer want the debt or have the time to go. They want to get to work right away. What do you suspect is going to happen in the future? How do you think that the private sector and government can work together to prepare for this anticipated education disruption?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think there is still a vital role that four-year colleges play, but increasingly what we're seeing is people don't need to go to four-year colleges. What we've ended up creating at Google is a 9 to 12 month certificate program, and we started doing that on our own, and then we said, this thing should be actually mobile. So we built out a network and increasingly are growing that network. We now, I think it's about 25 companies in the network, so if you get an IT certificate through this program, you can go to Walmart or this is here in Connecticut or a whole host of other companies because we want it to be something that's transportable. And then the most recent iteration, again, very consistent with where Ned is focused, is let's tap into community colleges. We have this incredible resource in this country. What if companies partner with community colleges and tap into the digital skills training program? You can say, if you want to train to this type of curriculum, here are the jobs that are available. So I think that's why we've gone to something shorter than needing a year. So why do we need to let people, not everybody needs to go through the 4-year program or wants to, and your point about avoiding therefore the burden of debt is a very relevant one.
And more businesses will pay for your IT certificate if you go and join them. But let me ask you why don't I jump in for a second?
Sure, take over.
No, you're doing well. You really are. So when we were trying to recruit this IT company called Infosys to come up to Hartford, and Ruth, so I was telling them about our VOTEC programs and our STEM programs and our IT programs and how we be well prepared for an Infosys career when they go out and they do IT consulting. Ravi Kumar said something interesting to me. He said, I also want people who are well-rounded with a good liberal arts education. Because over the course of your career, your job is going to change 5, 6, 7 times. And I want somebody who can think and continue to learn along the way. I'll teach you the coding to keep up with that, but I need somebody who can think along the way. Does that make sense in terms of what you're looking for there, or is it more of a technical skill?
I very much agree. I think that the arts and humanities, how we think, how we inject design into all of the products so that they're more consistent with who we are in life is absolutely critical. When I think about machine learning and where is that going, I think machine learning and artificial intelligence has the opportunity to solve so many really important issues for society. We're seeing it in particular in health, being able to move from reactive to proactive healthcare. That's why it knows better than anyone. Where is life sciences going, and how can we actually use technology to leverage humanity? But then there's a very important question about ethics around artificial intelligence and how we bring together the social sciences and the humanities to help think about these big questions. I think is super valuable. So there are many reasons why all of these disciplines are important. I think that I was trying to address, for those who want to go in and get a certificate, we want to make sure that we're giving them that opportunity, and that is not in any way, hopefully it did say, to take away from the value that certainly I feel I got having a very broad liberal arts education.
So, pivoting from short term to long term, this is going to piggyback on some questions for you, Ned. First with you, Ruth. Ruth, a few years ago during a commencement speech you said, stick to your true north, build greatness for the long term, or at least that's what I found on the internet.
That is true.
So I couldn't help but think for a second, can a state, region, or city, or all of the above, have a true north? Is it possible to get people who are losing energy and patience to stick it out for the long term? And what could a true north look like?
And give you a micro answer and pass it to Ned to really answer. I think that to build great companies, you do have to focus on the long term. And if you just focus on the short term, you may miss the opportunity to invest in those things that really make a difference for the long term. But you can't ignore it in the short term. We all live in the present. And so one of the very important parts on job skilling is, of course, there's a lot of concern about where are the jobs in the future? How am I going to make the transition? We all need to work together to help people make that transition. What's the bridge to the future? The true north for companies is kind of where can we be? What's the art of the possible? And there's a true north about ethics that goes with it. But I'm going to leave it to Ned to answer the hard part, which is how it leads a state to play.
Well, a state has a true north as well. And a state has a character, a state has an identity, a state has a brand. And we've lost our brand a little bit. I mean, you know what California's brand is, don't you? You know what Silicon Valley is. You know when you say California exactly what that means. And Connecticut, a land of steady habits. So we've got to, as a governor, and with each and every one of you, I've got to tell people what Connecticut is. I got to say that Annie and I, when we moved here, about your age, we moved here for the most amazing quality of life this country had to offer, where you've got the rolling hills as well as shorefront, where you often could work near where you lived. We had easy access to the cities, be it Boston or New York, depending on where you're from. We had a great education system. K through 12, amazing universities, best universities in the world, one of the best universities in the world right here. Pretty good pizza. You could be a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan. We've got a lot going on. And right now there's a bit of a pall of pessimism hanging over the state of Connecticut. It's a fiscal crisis, and other states are growing faster than we are, and we don't really have great cities, so the young people want to be in a place where you don't have a big major city.
New Haven is a great city.
New Haven is a great city, it could be greater. But what I got to do is convince each and every one of you that Connecticut is really unique and special. We do have some amazing job opportunities, amazing jobs in tech, amazing startup incubators like right this. This state we were the Silicon Valley of America 100 years ago. We created the cotton gins, Sikorsky helicopters. This is what we were, and we still are again. And I don't want to throw my wife Annie under the bus, but a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs, and maybe you're looking for some funding. If any of you are in health IT or fintech, that's what she does. Hey, Annie.
So someone had asked a question about, it was for you, Ruth, but I think the answer is obvious. It's how important is the proximity of Silicon Valley, San Francisco to the airport. I think that's an obvious thing. So I'm going to actually pass this one to you, Ned. So in the spirit of innovation and technology, and speaking of long term, whenever there's a discussion about a faster rail, it's the discussion, we talk about the dates of it'll be ready in 2030, we're going to spend a bunch of money in 2 years to do a study, grumbles that it'll never happen because of the towns and the homeowners and the cost. And most of the people in this room are living in an on-demand, real-time world now. So they don't want to hear the thought of 2030 to them. They might as well just die. So when we talk about faster trains, it sort of feels like we're talking about faster horses. So could we look at examples like Chicago and LA that are working with the Boring Company and Elon Musk instead, since we're talking about doing this 12 years out? What do you think the future of Connecticut transportation should be? And how do we pivot the conversation away from Metro North?
We may not get there, overnight, but you got to know where we're going. And that's, I think, part of long term. I think that's true of a business. It's certainly true of a state. And we have very short-term thinking in politics, and that has cost us a lot. And we're recently having some short-term thinking in the business world as well. This is a state that stopped investing in itself, decades ago. David, you brought up transportation, you brought up air, you brought up rail. Our location, where we are, should be one of our amazing advantages. I tried to allude to that before. And all of a sudden, our roads are congested, the gridlock is tough, it takes longer to take the train service into Manhattan, and we're falling backwards because of it. GE left because they said your transportation system is a mess. And while you can't fix that overnight,
It wasn't because of taxes.
well, you can't fix that overnight, so you've got to give people an idea of where we're going. And right now, you don't have that sense. When it comes to high-speed rail and Shanghai to Beijing, and I can get from New Haven to New York in 47 minutes, someday that will happen. That's a good way to think. You may find the technology laps that, to your point. But what I can do in the here and now, right now, is say, look, we're going to invest in our train platforms so they get 20 minutes faster. That's inexpensive to do by fixing some of the bridges. I can have more frequent rail service so that you don't have to wait 40 minutes. You can wait 15 minutes in order to get in and out. I can make Tweed Airport, which is 20 minutes away from here, a strong regional airport. So there are some things that don't change for you, really. And but most importantly, when it comes to brand and character, is getting me a sense of where we're going as well.
It's been about 40 years since they've been trying to get Tweed back online again. So hopefully it doesn't take 40 more.
Everyone wants to be, this was a great question we got, and I have to include it, I put a little bit of a spin on it. Everyone wants to be the next Silicon Valley. Silicon Alley in New York, Silicon Beach in Santa Monica. We even have a building in Stamford, Connecticut that's empty that says Silicon Harbor. Here in New Haven, we hear it all the time. People say we have incredibly educated people in the state, in the city, here at Yale. Why are we not the next Silicon Valley? Doing a little bit of research, we see that Silicon Valley grew up somewhat organically. But when you look at Route 128 and the Research Triangle, there were more deliberate investments by government. Does the latter model work? What makes the difference? And how do we work together to make those decisions? Who wants to take it? I think it's
I think
sort
it's,
of,
that's where I was
yeah.
basically,
You were in Wall Street, you were east, you were west, you've seen it all.
But I think that where I was going to go is I think that, yes, there are areas where it grew organically. Silicon Valley started decades ago, benefited from Stanford. You know, it wasn't just the students, but then the opportunity for ongoing partnerships, research partnerships, and increasingly the opportunity for partnerships across a broader swath of topics, whether it's biosciences or computer science, physics, which is very exciting. As you then say, well, where to from here? I'm going to come back to a phrase I've already used, which I think Ned has already addressed, which is the value of public-private partnerships. If we want to actually infuse and get some flight velocity in areas, there are opportunities to work closely together. And I think the opportunity that you have here in district and some of the history is evidence of that. And it continues to be an opportunity. That I'll turn it to Ned.
All right, I admit it. I have a little bit of Silicon Valley envy, but I'd like you guys to have a little bit of Connecticut envy sometime. And what I mean by that is, look, you see what they did in Research Triangle, you see what they did in Northern Virginia, you see what they're doing in Austin, you see what they're doing in communities around the country in terms of making smart public-private investments, merging in academia with the private sector and public around a strategy. But each one is going to be a little bit unique. And, Connecticut, where are we strong? We're strong on the life sciences. We're strong on healthcare. We're strong on advanced manufacturing. We're pretty strong on fintechs and finance and digital media. And these are, I think, going to be the places where Connecticut has the wind to its back. So as much as I'd like to replicate what's going on in Silicon Valley, we're going to have our own Connecticut revolution.
So in the spirit of startups, small businesses for a second, Ned, I read that you were at an upstart was it Comcast? Cablevision, and then you started your own startup and you sold that business. So you've got to have some experience with running businesses. How is that going to help you in if you were to be elected as governor?
Well, I'm making the case it will be invaluable, obviously. First of all, let me tell you, we haven't had a guy who started a business and created jobs as governor of the state of Connecticut in generations, and we pay a price for that. So that's one of the reasons we're near the bottom when it comes to starting businesses and creating jobs. I took on the cable TV industry after I left Cablevision. It was a small startup. We built telecommunication systems for universities, and we delivered a better product, a broader product, an educational product at a lot less cost. And I'd say a couple of things. What does that have to do with governor? You need a little bit of entrepreneurial zip when it comes to how you deliver services in state government. I mean, look at DMV. I've joked before that you walk into DMV a Democrat, you leave a Republican. You figure the government can't get anything right. And what we could do with an entrepreneurial mindset there in terms of moving more and more of DMV to the cloud, maybe doing something with the public-private, maybe with the Google or something like that, could be extraordinary. And right now, our state government is locked in the 1970s, 1980s, and no private company could afford to be where they are today. And you also need a mindset that works well with the private sector, works well with the entrepreneurial community, welcomes the entrepreneurial community in, finding new ways to deliver services at a better cost. And I think that's why background as an entrepreneur and a startup person may be just what you need in the land of steady habits.
So I'm going to make this the last question, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. It's been common for this state and many states to offer tax and loan incentives to lure big-name businesses. Would it be better for states to incentivize and attract entire industries and clusters instead of individual companies? And if so, what are the best ways to do that? And also, another way I'd like you to think about it is it more important for us to do sort of the business whale fishing, or should we start supporting smart experimentation startups
that really can lead to jobs. Maybe I answered the second one.
Well, I can start with something called Connecticut Innovations, first of all. I think a lot of you should probably pay attention to what that is. That's a couple $100 million fund. And unlike, politicians handing money out, which I think is a disaster, this is a private-backed group. They oversee it. They make investments. It's a recurring fund that helps you get things started. And that would be a great partnership, by the way, for district. Bill, can you introduce you to those folks?
Connecticut Innovation?
Yeah. You're there, okay. Got it. I'm not going to introduce you to anybody. Okay, you're there. More broadly, no, I don't like the idea of just using incentives, bribes, and giveaways to get a company here. You got to play to where your strengths are. And I think I tried to describe where I think our strengths are in terms of our academic strengths, where we are in terms of our anchor tenants and the best companies we have, and all the companies around there that are helping them to grow and invest. I think that's where you play to your strengths. The idea of the first five, and I'll hand out a gimme there or there. When Infosys came, I told this story to the business guys before, I was sort of struck that we were leading with incentives. And right across the way in Rhode Island, Gina said, we'll match whatever Connecticut offers. Now let me tell you why you ought to be in Rhode Island. And that's got to be our mindset, why you ought to be in Connecticut.
Okay, very good. Well, I have a couple more, but I'm not going to get to them. I think let's open it up to you guys. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Let's keep it technology. Let's keep it startup.
Hey, thank you so much, Dave, Ned, for being here. I'm Carl O'Connell. We are a Connecticut Innovations company. Sure. We're a digital health company. We are focused on being a participant in the global digital economy and have a vision of being a beacon of light coming out of New Haven, exporting services to the world related to digital health. When it comes to public-private partnership and making Connecticut a place where it's easy for a digital health company to participate in the global digital economy, which is obvious to me and other entrepreneurs that is really the only path to economic success. How can you as the governor support initiatives that make it so a little company like ours have assets and advantages that maybe necessarily we can't do on our own, but can take advantage of, that enable us to actually really be a leader and take what we are good at and export it?
Well, I can start with that if you want. Let's make New Haven the first 5G city in the Northeast. We'll get to that high-speed rail someday, but that's something we can do in the next couple of years. That means
Maybe some Waymo cars going through a tunnel. That's what I'm saying.
that means maybe you got to be in New York or Boston, 1 or 2 days a week, but the rest of the time, this place is perfect. And you can do everything here faster and more efficiently than you can elsewhere right now. And those are the ways that I think Connecticut learns to compete and take advantage of what our location might be. I go to the small towns as well, and they're desperate. I say, how come you don't have a Wi-Fi zone right on Main Street in Coventry? If Starbucks can provide it, so can we. And make that a condition of your franchise frontier if you want to continue doing business in Coventry. So that's, I think, one answer to your question. Let me hand it to Bruce.
I'm hearing the governor.
I think that was a great question. Let's go to another great answer. Excuse me. Let's go to another question. Anybody?
Hi, Ken Hart with Green Check Verified. It's another New Haven startup compliant with banking for the cannabis industry. We may not be that popular with some people, but that is our position. Ooh, somebody will find something. I'm also on the working council for blockchain, and we are talking about technology and what's going on here. And one of the challenges, we're not looking for a handout, Governor, just saying, one of the disadvantages now with the tax credits, they're so low. So, as it relates to support, public, private, et cetera, what are your ideas on, new initiatives like blockchain? Because we're working on behalf of the state to come up with some ideas and recommendations. What are your thoughts on that, please?
Let me take the easy one first. I'm usually a little circumspect, not too clear where I stand. I'd legalize pot in the first year. I would regulate it, I would tax it, and I think all of our neighbors are doing it, and it's something the Connecticut's could be doing as well, too, or other thing. You know, on the blockchain, look, this is a place where Connecticut can be a leader. You've got Seven Clouds up in West Hartford, the major Chinese fintech incubators just bought the Yukon campus up there. And this is a place where we have an opportunity to leapfrog and be part of the new technology. I'd like to see Yale and UConn and other places make sure we have a discipline. Maybe I can help them there. It provides the skill sets we need for folks who are going to be the leaders in something like blockchain. We got to get ahead of the curve. We just can't try and keep up. And I think blockchain is a place where we can really excel. I've never heard you so quiet.
Yes, you're doing well.
So speaking of blockchain, here's one of our residents here, Nathan.
So, hello. I run a blockchain startup actually in there. We've been around for almost 2 years now. We're having a pretty cool thing in about a month, about our 2-year anniversary, so it's pretty cool. We got our seed funding about 3 months ago. So I actually do have an important question for you about blockchain specifically. So I heard that the state really wants to figure out like cryptocurrency regulation and blockchain related regulations with distributed ledger technologies. So my main question for you is, how are we going to find a due diligence mechanism for that? So if we want to bring in all these really big blockchain companies and initiatives, we need a way to vet them. So as a lot of people know, the space doesn't have a lot of legitimacy backing it right now, and a lot of the people that have that legitimacy are small in number. Like for Google, for instance, with the partner with digital asset. So how are we going to find those due diligence tools, and how are we going to use them to bring better businesses and create better projects in Connecticut? So that way we have a immersive community about it.
How do we make it, and I'll just add to that, how do we make sure that it doesn't get overly regulated like everything else in the state?
Wow, that's over my pay grade. The way I think about it is this, like the early days of the internet, where you want to have it as deregulated as possible, step back, work with folks in the industry in terms of whatever those rules and regulations ought to be. You know, that door's got to be open. I'd like to see Connecticut at the forefront there. So exactly what we know those rules of the road are, and I think they're minimal as long as we can keep it that way.
What happens out in the West Coast, do you know?
Well, where I was going to go is sort of an answer that you will either think is responsive or completely unresponsive. I think one very important element in Ned's policy views is that it is imperative to streamline regulation. And I'm not going to do it justice, and you can jump in and correct me where I'm wrong. But coming from financial services, I think there is a place where there was no question that something was needed coming out of 08. The question, too little doesn't work, too much doesn't work, and how does one have a framework that actually ensures we protect all relevant constituents, but also ensures the right level of velocity in society, and the devil's in the details on that. So I'm saying it's responsive and not responsive in that I think it's appropriate that this is one of the key things to look at. How do we slim down where it makes sense in order to increase velocity so that we can actually get the kind of economic growth catalyst that we need? But you can't answer it glibly. You need to actually get your hands dirty into the details, and I don't have those details here.
Bob. Microphone.
Thank you again for being here. So I'll try to keep this quick. Obviously, digital economy is opening up lots of opportunities. Most of the folks in this room are hard at work taking advantage of those opportunities. And Connecticut, and you in particular, are really a microcosm of something going on nationally, which is that there are large numbers of people who haven't caught up to the industrial economy, let alone the digital economy. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on how we not only accelerate for those folks who are aware of and want to take advantage of the digital economy, but help folks leapfrog past the industrial economy that they're still trying to get into.
Well, I'll start. My job as governor is not to be the leapfrogger, but to make sure we have an infrastructure and a platform and an academic system that gives you all the basic research that we need and the people to help you guys do that. I think a government's got to know what it does. So when it comes to that digital economy, look, I would do everything I could. I think that's a growth area. I see some sort of a nexus down in Stanford in terms of the number of digital startups there. You start trying to build that ecosystem. I'm talking to Ruth earlier. I mean, there's such a virtuous cycle when you have one entrepreneurial company near the other and the opportunities they have. And I got to think about where our clusters are in the state of Connecticut, where we have that virtuous cycle. In the digital economy, like I said, I've seen a lot going on in the greater Stanford area, and that would be a focus in terms of doing everything you can to recruit and keep and train the right type of people there. So you figure out how to leapfrog the industrial.
I think that the reason I'm so excited about digital skills training and what it can do for people, starting from training from coding all the way through basic skills, is because this is the language of today. And what I think is so exciting is when you see people who go through the digital skills program. It's not just the skills. I was at one of our skills training centers. It's also the confidence people get that they actually have, they can be a really contributing member of society and have a role going forward. I'll give you one example. I met a woman who was probably in her late 50s. She'd been a nurse her entire life. She tragically had a disease which knocked her out of nursing and went into really severe depression because she saw no future for herself, too young not to be working but didn't have the skills, in her view, to do anything other than nursing. She went through a digital skills program. When she talked about the skills she got, she didn't talk about the actual tangible digital skills. She talked about the confidence to go out and get a job. Both things are important. And so I think the notion that there are plenty of jobs, there are many jobs out there, there are opportunities we need to be training people for. We do need to help ensure that we're creating jobs for people today that will bridge as we move forward. And I would say that there are also plenty higher manufacturing level jobs in other areas, which is why many of these programs where companies tap into community colleges and say we'll design curriculum for those jobs of the future are really exciting. There's not, again, just one size fits all. I am passionate about what we can do in digital skills training, but I also really excited about and respectful of the work done in many other different industries to give people the skills needed for the jobs of today. And finally, very importantly, I think it was one of your first questions, we all need continuous learning because the world keeps changing. And this notion that like I got my degree from, I'm not even going to tell you what year from college, and I'm done. No, I'm not done. I think the most exciting layers of the day continue learning. And so continuing to, developing programs that are continuous learning actually is important in the kind of world which we all live.
Hey Ruth, as you look around, where does the digital skills and coding, what's the best time to start teaching that? Is that part of the 3 R's of the 21st century?
There are many great answers to that would scare all of us because you need to start when you're young. And I would say like anything, any time in life. Again, in particular, when you're talking about some of the skills that people don't have today that are quite basic. How do you present yourself online? How do you bring your business online? I think one of the most exciting parts of the U.S. economy are small and medium-sized businesses. And 80% of these businesses are not fully used, presenting themselves online. And when you, according to the Deloitte study, when you do, you're 3 times more likely to see an uptick in revenues, 3 times more likely to see an uptick in required employees. There's like a whole host of virtual benefits because it's obvious you're reaching a much broader universe. So I would say never stop learning.
So we've got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to actually throw in one more question that I have. So I moved to Connecticut from New York City years ago, and when I grew up in New York City was in really bad shape. But yet, at the end of the day, people had pride for New York. They said, I love New York, right? I'm a New Yorker. They beat their chest. In Massachusetts, in Boston, you hear people talk about Boston pride. In Connecticut, we've got sort of this case of self-loathing, self-hate.
We just still came up. Come on, it's not that bad.
I'm an optimist, and I like to create change. But this, it's created sort of this division and competitiveness. I've been in rooms where Stanford is talking smack to New Haven and so on and so forth, which can be fun, but it creates the further divides. And earlier today in lunch, you were talking about trying to regionalize, and you said it after you won the primary, and I was taken back by it. How do you do that? And not just from your perspective in terms of efficiency, right, with all the different school systems and so on and so forth, but how do we fuse this tiny state together so that we make more noise, so that we have greater energy, and that energy can lead to positive growth?
First of all, I think I would take the negatives and turn them into positives. I mean, let's say in IT and digital and coding and the computer science and where you are, we really need your skills here in Connecticut for a lot of the reasons you said, more than otherwise. You know, we're looking at the old machine tool guys we're talking to about state government. You know, this is a state that's on the edge of a transformation, and we need each and every one of you there. I joked about DMV, but you can take that across the board to state government and what you can do. You know, we are just with a lot of the old manufacturers, and they're old manufacturers, these are advanced manufacturers. It's extraordinary what they're doing, but they are desperate trying to, you know, keep up in this day and age to figure out how they can make that happen. GE left, they left because they said they couldn't find people like you. GE left because they said they couldn't find people like you. We sat down with them. They said, we got to go to Boston, we got to New York. But they, if we show people that we have the skill set here, we're ready to bring that entrepreneurship and ingenuity, this is why this is going to be a place of such extraordinary opportunity, because there is that need for what you bring to the table.
Well, I think that's all we have in terms of time. I want to thank both of you for joining us. I think that everybody was really pleased to hear that this was going to happen at District since we're so new. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations like this. So we welcome either one of you back or both of you back at any time. And I thank all of you for coming today and being a part of this.